On this episode, I'm going to tell you what to do with your air exchanger in a snowstorm. Plus,
unregistered 2 apartments.
Oh yeah, and Porky the Pig stops by. This real estate stuff is not easy, so send me your questions and I will answer them. This is the Ask Jason Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jason Piercey. Welcome to episode 17 of the Ask Jason Show. Whew, I don't know why I sang. I'm in a pretty decent mood. I have 3 quick questions to bang out, and I think we get out here early today, Joe. What do you think, buddy? I just kicked something. Okay, not hanging around. Let's just bang them out. First question. Why did I get a ticket for parking on the sidewalk? Okay, here's a little bit of context. What we're talking about here is on those bigger streets, like what's a good example? Great Eastern Avenue up in Kenmount Terrace, where the houses are set back from the street further, and the sidewalk is a couple of meters back off the curb, and it's paved over the sidewalk onto the street. People are parking in their driveway across the sidewalk and getting parking tickets. Why? Well, you might not like this. It's not your driveway. You don't own it. Look at your survey. Your land stops at the start of the sidewalk. On your side of the sidewalk, that's when your land starts. The rest of it belongs to the city. You might as well be parking up off of Prince Philip Drive. Pull up and just stop on a sidewalk. Same thing. Not your land. Don't park there. Well, you know what? Park there all you want. But when you get a ticket, and you're gonna get a ticket, especially right now, the winter parking ban is in, there are people driving around just hoping to give you a ticket so the city can get some money. Don't park on the sidewalk. You don't own it. Done with that question. Next question. Done. This is a good time for one of those little splice just to the next section. Let's do a little bit of magic. We're going to snap into the next question. I don't know why I did that. Okay, here's a very important question. It's important. Pay attention. What do I do with my HRV when it's a snowstorm? This is actually, I really do mean that this is important and pay attention. So an HRV is a heat recovery ventilator. It's an air exchanger, but what it does is it balances the temperature of the fresh air coming in from outside with the stale air that's being replaced with fresh air so that it increases the efficiency of your home, so all of the warm air that gets blown into your bedroom, or your fresh air that gets blown into your living spaces in your bedroom, isn't the temperature of what's outside. So that's the difference between an HRV and a regular air exchanger. But here's what you need to do when there's a snowstorm. This sucks air in from outside. If there's a lot of stuff falling from the sky, if it's really windy and rainy and snowy, that's gonna pull that precipitation into the air exchanger unit. It's gonna pull it in. And if it gets to the unit itself, it's fine, because it'll just melt, and there's a drip hose you would have noticed in a loop. That's all okay. Water in that unit is fine. But it's going to melt as it goes through the insulation from your exterior wall into the HRV unit itself, and that's just an insulated hose. So it's gonna melt, it's gonna be water, the hose is gonna get sloshy and fill, and you're gonna be able to shake it and hear it, and now you gotta cut all that out and replace it, because it won't dry. It'll be there, it'll always be there. So what do? Rainstorm, especially snowstorm, turn your HRV off. It's not gonna be stormy long enough for all of the air in your house to get stale. You've still got exhaust fans in your bathrooms and shit. Turn your HRV off in a snowstorm. You learned something new? Did you learn something new? Joe, you learned something new? See, that's important. All right, snap to the next question. This is not a precedent. We will not always do that. This one I like. This is an important one. I'm glad somebody asked it. What the hell is an unregistered 2 apartment? Well, it's funny you should ask. There's no such thing as an unregistered 2 apartment, only because there's no such thing as a registered 2 apartment. The city of St. John's does not have this big long scroll of registered apartments. That's not a thing. What you really mean is, what is a 2 apartment that doesn't have occupancy issued and compliance with the city of St. John's that is registered for 2 units. So occupancy permits for 2 units, that's what you're looking for. Now, the reality of the situation is I owned a 2-apartment with an unregistered basement apartment. So when I purchased it, I knew that permits had not been issued for all of the work, but I grew up in construction, all my family's contractors. I had a look, I was comfortable with the quality of the work, but since that time, it's now more difficult to buy properties that don't have a compliance letter from the municipality that says it's approved for occupancy for 2 reasons. So from a financial perspective, if you're using the rent from the apartment to help subsidize the mortgage, and otherwise you couldn't afford to spend that other 30 or 40 or 50 grand, if you can't get a compliance letter from the municipality, your bank won't allow you to use that rental income towards your financing approval. So that's really all that matters about registered and unregistered apartments. As long as you've got a way to inspect the work and you feel comfortable with the quality of it, and that goes back to good home inspectors, good realtors, and people who do diligence to go back to see when the work was done. So what is an unregistered apartment? It's a nothing. It's a thing. It's a made-up thing to scare people not to buy stuff that they don't always really need to be afraid to buy. I think we're good. That's enough for now. Thank you very much. And how do I usually end these? But that's all, folks. No, it's not that. It's but that's all, folks. Is that right? How much of this are you gonna edit out? If you see all of this, just know it's not coffee. No, that's not true. It's not. There's not even anything in here. It's empty. All right, Joe, cut. I gotta check Twitter.